Happy Sunday! Welcome to Let's Talk About You. I am your host, Camilla Francis, and it's always an honor, always a privilege to be here with you and for you to be here with me on your Sunday afternoon. I hope everyone had a magnificent last week, and we're starting this new week moving and shaking and moving. I am so glad to be here and to have you here with us. Tell a friend to tell a friend. We're here on Let's Talk About You live today. And, so let's talk about you today. We're flipping the narrative. We're celebrating Black excellence. I mean, what better way to do it? And to help us do just that, we have a phenomenal guest. All my guests have been phenomenal. So I'm keeping it going. I'm keeping the theme going. There's no going backwards at this point, and there's definitely no stopping us. I have Miss Melissa Darville. Oh, yes. Talk about brilliance, talk about beauty. I mean, there's just so much to go over and talk about when I'm talking about Miss Darville. We celebrated this past Thursday, Juneteenth. And, we pause to, we don't always pause to celebrate it often. And I'm so glad that now it's a federal holiday and people are becoming more aware of Juneteenth, what it is, what it's about. And, there's so many disparities and our own disadvantages and the whole story. And the truth is, we as a people, we're builders, we're brilliant, we're movers, we're strategists, we're creators, we're inventors, we're innovators, and we've always been from the beginning of time. And I'm so glad that we've come to the point now that we can see it, we can celebrate it, we can say it without humbling down and just keeping it quiet because we don't want our oppressors to oppress us. And, the oppression is still going on. But in spite of and despite of, we still have the opportunity to still celebrate us. So I salute you guys. I celebrate you guys. And, I want to start with some facts before I bring out our guests. Did you know that women are the fastest growing group of entrepreneurs? And the women that look like me. And that African Americans give more, we do, capital to charity, to charitable events because we're givers. And we know once we give and we share, we're creating wealth, not only wealth financial, but wealth of knowledge. And that is so important. And it is so good that we have social media, that we can do that. We see so many creatives on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and all the other creative social media platforms, and they're sharing their crafts. They're not gatekeeping. And we've always been sharers, and we've never been gatekeepers, and we're keeping it going. And social media is helping us do that. And, in the Caribbean, we too are movers and shakers, and we too are givers. And the Caribbean, like Jamaica and Barbados, rank amongst the highest globally to literally have birthed some of the most successful diasporas of entrepreneurs in the world. And I salute you, my Caribbean sisters and brothers. And yet, for studies, our headlines focus on what we don't always do right. But today, I'm going to be focusing on that, what we are doing right. And too often, we don't focus on what we do right to build on. But we're changing the script. We're flipping the script today. We're doing that, and let's talk about you. And with Black excellence, I'm going to have our powerhouse of a guest, Melissa, who's a Caribbean entrepreneur. Isn't Let's Talk About You going global? We're doing stateside, over in Holland, and now we're right here in our neighborhood, Caribbeans, sharing with our Caribbean sisters and brothers. She has shared her knowledge in the Caribbean for over 2 decades. She has so much experience, not just building businesses, but she builds bridges, that'll take her from one business from where they are to where they need to be. And now she's working on initiatives from the Caribbean to the motherland, to Africa. And I'm so excited to meet with this creative mind. And I have to thank my producer Crystal, because Crystal was the link to bring Melissa to us. And I know this is not scripted, but you know, once each one teach one, and networking is key. And I am so glad that I have Crystal and Kiana as my producers, because those girls, ooh, what would I do without them? I don't know. I won't. I really don't know. And I'm excited to have that Melissa here to share her journey. And she's going to jump right into it, her life story, her resilience, her reinvention of herself, of her crafts with an S, and how she's such a visionary and a leader. So get your pad, your pens, because I want you guys to take notes. She's going to help and give us advice. She's going to tell us about her, Melissa Darville, and what she has done, what she's doing, and what she has for the future, not just for her in her Caribbean island, but her to share with our African brothers and sisters. And I am just so excited. So without further ado, come on in the room. Come on in the room.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me. I am so excited.
I'm excited too. I am so excited. I was excited from the other day when we did our intro talk. I was like, hold it down, sis, hold it down. You have to save some of it, because this is just too good just for you to share just with my ears only. And I salute you and I say, welcome to Let's Talk About You. I am just so glad that you are here to share your journey, to talk to us here about what it is that you've done, what you're doing, what you will continue doing. I mean, you are just such a mover and a shaker and an inspiration. And you inspired me in the 10-minute conversation that we've had. So I know that you're going to be an inspiration to our listening audience. Now, I told them that you're definitely Black excellence, that you're an innovator, that you are, but I want you to tell them the other in between. Let our listening audience know from Melissa Darville who Melissa Darville is.
Oh boy, I think it's important for me to say that excellence, you get to be excellent not because you're perfect, but because you're able to learn the lessons in everything that you go through. You're able to have a pure heart when you go through something, and you don't let hard times change you to become like the hard things that affected you. And I think it's important for us as women to learn to be gentle with each other. We need to
Yes.
learn to appreciate each other, and we need to congratulate each other, and not feel so envious all the time, and not try to put people down all the time. And we have to teach that to our daughters. So our daughters know that the conversation you have the first time you see another woman is not look at her hair, look at what she's wearing. Is the first thing you say when you meet a new woman is not to find how you think you are better than her, but to find a way to uplift her, because you don't know what her story and her struggle is.
Exactly. And let's start with your story. Tell us where your journey started. What shaped you as a young woman when you was that young daughter in the Caribbean? Tell us that story.
I had no idea that I would be me right now, because I will tell you the truth. When I was in high school, I was track and field, lip gloss, and boys. And when and my mother took me out of that high school, and she put me in an all girls boarding school. And that's where I learned the discipline. And that's where I learned my self-worth. That's when I learned to love education. And from that moment, when I had that shift, I was on the honor roll ever since. And when I went to university, I was always on, the president's list and everything. And it didn't stop. So what had to happen was someone had to look at me and see that I was not living up to what my potential was. I was not being all that I could be. And so I thank my mother and my parents for that. They took me out of the situation and they put me in a healthier situation so that I could see what I needed to be. So from there, I wanted to be a fashion designer. I wanted to be a writer, but I ended up becoming a teacher. And so I was a teacher in Florida for 4 years. And then I came home to the Bahamas and I taught briefly computers at a Catholic school. And then my heart was moved. I still was restless. I still needed to do more. And so my sister and I and my niece, we opened a homeschool. And that homeschool was specifically for those who are having learning challenges and adult learners. And we had that school for 11 years. We helped tons of children. But with life, something that we have to understand, everything in life has a chapter and a closing. And then
Has a season.
yes, and the chapter closed on that. And then I went into manufacturing ice cream. I actually really just wanted an ice cream store. But I wanted an ice cream store, and I really wanted the ice cream from Jamaica because I went to Jamaica and had their ice cream and I fell in love with it. But I couldn't figure out how I was going to get that ice cream to the Bahamas. And so I said, well, let me just make my own. And so from there, we invented, I wouldn't say invented, but we started making sorbet, not the traditional way of using extracts and fluid and just water and sugar, but we started using the real fruit because we had it available. Ooh. And so we designed some real fruit sorbet. So tamarind, soursop, mango, passion fruit, pineapple, guava. And from there, we invented some ice cream flavors, guava duff, which is not a flavor, no one had that. It was a guava duff flavor. We did a toasted coconut, of course, rum raisin, and we were just going crazy with the flavors. And that season lasted 10 years.
So would you say that was your first big yes? Or was the teaching your big? That wasn't your yes yet?
I don't know, because I made a great impact in education. I really loved my kids and they loved me. And I cried when I closed the school. I cried. But I had to do it because I got burnt out. It is so difficult dealing with the families and with children with special needs that you take it on. And I always tell people, I think if I was in counseling, maybe I would have been able to keep the school open longer, but I wasn't. And so all of the burdens, we take at home. And so it really got to me. And at that time, I had 2 young children. And so by the time the end of the day, I didn't have anything left for them. So I had to, it had to close. I had to close in order to save my own kids and my own family. So that was great.
And before you go on to the next, let's talk a little bit about that, because too many times we as creatives, innovators, teachers, and then when you have that build of so much inside of you that you want to give, it's not always hard to say it's time to stop or pause. And I'm glad that, even though I'm sorry that chapter ended, but that I think what you're saying is that chapter had to end, not only to save yourself, but for you to realize that you have to create balance for your family.
Yes. And it actually took us a year to close. So I closed slowly. I had to appease my conscience. So I made sure that all my students were placed in other environments where they would get good care. And so I waited until I got all of my kids placed in other schools. And then I let it go. And I spoke to one of my senior parents at that time. And I told her, I said, this is really hurting me. And she told me, she said, you have done your work. You have done your work and you can let it go. It's a season. And then with her telling me that, it kind of gave me a way to be graceful with myself, to let it go.
Yes.
And so it really,
because too many times we're not great. We don't give ourselves that grace or that mercy because we feel that we're doing something and it's making an impact. And if we stop, we're hurting someone and the guilt sets in. Mm-hmm. So would you say that she was your voice of reason to assist with that guilt?
Yes, she was. And her being a spiritual person, she understood spiritually as well what was going on. And so that really helped me because even though the thing is, sometimes people will always want you to do more. But when you realize that you're not working at your full capacity, and that's where I was so hurt and so empty that what I was giving, even though it was better than most, it wasn't my best. And so before I do harm, it's time to take your hands off. And so and that's what I had to do. It was a very hard decision. But my children still pop by. Every time they pass the house, they still pop by and run in and give me a hug. And I still have the joy when I see them now as 18-year-olds, and they're doing something and they're functioning in the world. And I'm still in touch with some of the parents, that it was not for nothing. And even
And
though I
one
had to
nugget
let
that you
them
said
go.
was so good. You said that even though you were giving more than most, it was not your potential. And a lot of times we figured because we have so many outside voices, and it's like, oh, if you do that, that this person is going to suffer, and that. And then you're depleting you because you're not giving all that you can. And I love that piece. Even though it was better than most, you still had more to give somewhere else.
Right. And I came to terms. It was very difficult. And then I started the ice cream business. I got an ice cream machine, a little tabletop ice cream machine worth $300. And I started just making ice cream and giving it to cousins and friends and stuff. And then when they were like, this is really good, I think you could do something with this. And then I got a large machine for Valentine's Day. And then I just started. I said, let me take the step. I didn't have a shop. I just started with what I had. And that's like one of the things I try to tell people when I come in touch with them. Start with what you have. Start with what you have. And when that has proven itself and you see that it has legs and wings, then you could go into more. You can go into invest more into it. And I saw that, and I started off with just working 2 days a week, Thursdays and Fridays, delivering to offices. And just from that, the momentum just picked up. One person took it home. She had a daughter who worked at the hotel. They tasted it. They called me, invited me to come to the hotel to bring in samples. Bam. And it's just like, so things were just happening without much. And that's how I judge my life right now. When the wind picks it up, when it happens almost effortlessly, that means that the Holy Spirit is behind it. It is the right
Oh,
thing. It is the right
amen.
thing. And
Do you have
that's how I
a
judge
name? Did
things.
you name that ice cream business?
It was Shiva. It was
Oh,
Shiva.
super.
Yes, it was Shiva. It was Shiva. And and that's another thing, because I had to close the doors on that as well. And that took me the same thing. Took me a year to do
But
that.
before you close the business, let's talk a little bit more about Shiver and how you expanded so quickly from your $300 machine to
Yes,
selling to hotels and so forth. You
yes.
know,
It was
what were
something
some of the biggest lessons you learned in navigating that project and, the sales, the regulations? How did that work? I want us to stay here a little bit. I'm not
okay.
ready to move on because I know you
All
have
right,
so
no
much to
problem.
offer.
Well, we made in the first year. I can talk numbers. We all family here. We can talk them. So in the first year with me trying it out, we made $30,000, and for me that was big. And from there, the government had just started a grant program, so we applied for a grant and a loan, and we got that. And with that, we were able to get 2 ice cream trucks and a factory and a walk-in freezer. And so we were able to upgrade our 5x5 walk-in freezer that we bought just from earnings to a 500 square foot walk-in freezer and 300-liter production facility. We ended up having a contract with Bahamar. We were doing providing ice cream and sorbet for chefs at Atlantis. We were dealing with caterers. So on the weekends, we had caterer events, and we would take the freezers and plop it into the wedding or whatever it was, and we'd have it filled. And by the time we got there, it was empty. We had
Wow.
40 stores. So by the time we ended, we had 40 stores with our personalized freezers in it. And we had schools. We had public schools. And it's for me, it was priced so that the second person could make something from it, because that was important to me. Because we got advice that, oh, this product is so good and you could really charge this, you should be selling this, for double what you have. But my heart was still, the purpose of this business is to help the next person as well as myself. I already have my markup in it, and I want to make sure that the next person is able to make something from it too. So I was helping businesses. So small stores, they really loved it because they were able to fill up their freezer and double their money right on the spot. Primary schools were able to just they would sell out in one day. And so they would use that almost like a fundraising event. And they would So it went well. So we
So
had
it
40
was shivering
stores.
without borders because you expanded so quickly and you allowed everybody to get a taste of it, not literally and financially.
Financially, yes, and we were on family islands, so we were on at least 5 different family islands. So we would deliver to the mail boats, and get it to different islands, and then eventually at the end, what I did was I franchised it. I met a lady in Barbados who had franchised her food business, and so she told me how to do it, and I just followed it up, and I got it done just in a couple months, what usually takes a year. And that was another sign for me because they were like, this usually takes a year. But the thing was, because I had done so much background work in the business, everything that I needed to franchise the business, I already had. So,
Okay.
so I had like a design for a storefront already made up, even though I didn't have a store because I had intentions of going to St. Lucia because I wanted to go to St. Lucia because of the farming there. Because I would have direct access to the fruit. And then that way I would be able to, instead of importing my fruit from Miami, bringing it here, I could get it from the Caribbean because at that time there wasn't the intershipping. And so that's another thing that pings off to what I'm dealing with now. That for me to get my product to St. Lucia or to Barbados, I would have had to send it to Florida to get it back down there. Or for them to send me the fruit, they would have to send it all the way up to Florida and all the way and back down to me because there wasn't anything
Straight connecting you guys
there was
straight. It was
it wasn't anything set up for us. And so that pinged in my mind and that stayed with me. And that's something that I started working on with this next thing that I'm doing. But I will tell you, I help a lot of people. And it is hard for me to charge people for helping them because I just want people to do better. Like I have a friend that I met also from St. Lucia, and I just gave her a couple little tips one night talking to her on the phone. She got into 4 stores the next week. 4 stores. And then it was a gentleman in India that I helped. He was like going out of business. He made chocolate and he's just like, I just need someone to talk to tell, how can I save this business? He said, I have my friends working for me. I can't even pay them. In a few months, he wrote me back. He had contracts at hotels. I just gave him my model. I said, look, get into the hotels, get into the schools. You're doing chocolate, you're doing fruit. That's a woman's thing. You need to target the female audience. And so just with using those couple tips, what I gave him, like just chatting on LinkedIn and just doing some chats, he was able to save his business. And
so
this is something
you're in the Bahamas and you're reaching out to people in India, in the St. Lucia and throughout. So you made your business global just by sharing and networking.
yes,
And
because we have to
that's
do that for
important.
each other. We have to do that because what I found being in the industry and in manufacturing is that we as people feel that there's a finite amount of success available to our country. And so we feel as if anyone else gets some more success, that will be less for me. But success is infinite.
Yes.
It's infinite. And
It's a mindset. Yes.
crossing the borders, we cannot just keep thinking of, okay, this is a $6 million market only in the Bahamas. So if I let her get an edge on me, that's less for me. Well, think outside. Think outside. You have a great product. If you have an excellent product or something, give it to the people who can't get access to it readily. Then that's your hungry market. And that was the market.
We don't have a lot of Melissas though. We don't have a lot of Melissas. That's part of the issue. Because if we had a lot of Melissas, then we'll be able to, reach where it is that we want to go. But and you're right. You're right about sharing information and sharing the wealth, but with you keep sharing, at some point you do have to charge, Miss Melissa.
Yes, I know. I know. That's what I'm working on right now. How to, first of all, name what this is that I do, and then to package it as a product. That's what I'm working on right now. But it is true. But there's so much help needed, and then I see. It was important to me because of the things that I learned with getting into debt too early. getting into debt or getting into relationships with business with persons who don't have the same values. I try to make sure that when I meet other entrepreneurs on that brink of scaling up, I tell them the truth. I tell them the truth, because as the people who work with entrepreneurs, we should not be looking out for the lender. We should be looking out for the small person. And what I found is that we look out for the lender, because that's the person with all the money. So we look out for their best interests, and we leave the small person really with no one to defend them. And
Well,
that
break that down some more so we could really understand, so you could really hear that. We
we
look
try
out,
to,
as entrepreneurs, really look out too much for the lender and not for the
right.
small person. Who would
We
be the small person?
an entrepreneur. So let's say, for instance, you have an entrepreneur who wants to make a juice. So realistically, he could just spend $5,000 and get the equipment that he needs to expand. But because the minimum required by the bank for him to get lending is $50,000, you then encourage him to get a $50,000 factory instead, so that he can qualify for this, but he doesn't really need it. But then you want to make sure that the lender gets their interest. Then we have people who are in the venture capital area realm who want to take all of your equity. And that was something that I still am an advocate of. Stop giving away all of your equity for something. And that's what I like about the franchise model. Let them get, the royalties, let them get the cash up front for something, but don't give away your equity, because that's the trap I was in. When it was time for me to expand my business, I no longer had 51%. And so now if I could put 51 on my forehead, I would put 51 on my forehead to tell everyone, make sure that you retain at least 51% of your business, because the people who are partnering with you have their day job. They are safe with their money. So when you have to make a critical business decision, you're not on the same level, you're not on the same plane.
Right.
Because for them, it really doesn't matter. I was actually told, if you lose, I win, and if you win, I win. And I was like, ooh,
Food for thought.
This is something. And I had to realize that, that you have, as the entrepreneur, especially in the Caribbean, we look towards our leaders so much to help us that we forget that they are just human and just people. And so I expected them to look out for my best interest when they were looking out for whoever else's best interests, because you're just a number. But what we fail to realize is that the intelligence and the creativity of a country is also its natural resource. And when you crush the spirit of entrepreneurship, when you crush this spirit of hope, you increase oppression. You increase oppression. And so this is where, and so all of these things that I learned, I try to share. So keep your 51%. Do not partner with people who have different values than you, because when
you're going to have that hard conversation. Right now, our listening audience, we're talking about the resilience in Black entrepreneurship, and Melissa's here giving us some tips. So write it down. This is good. You have to make sure that you have that hard conversation, is what it's saying, and make sure that these people, whoever it is that you choose to invest with, have at least some, if not all, the same values that you have and are on the same page that you are. You have to lay it out on the table.
Because, there was, I forgot the term, didn't come to me right now, but there was a term that was brought to my attention, which means that sometimes a lender will benefit more by you failing than by you winning, because of the equity of something imbalance, something. I forgot it. I'll remember soon. But there's situations like that when sometimes you defaulting, they still win, or they win more, or they win more by trying to sell what you have. And and that was another conversation I had to have, because as soon as my business became viable, term that was told to me, they said, you don't know what to do with this business. You don't know what to do with this business. Let us have this business, because you don't know what to do with it. And I smiled, and I'm just like, so my business that I start from scratch, I don't know the value of my business. But this is when you're in. This is when you make deals with sharks, because they see
Mhm.
that. See, the thing is, if you say that you are for entrepreneurs, then you have to be their true advocate and not take advantage of their ignorance and their weakness, but use your strength and your knowledge to enhance them. So if I didn't know something, instead of taking advantage of what I didn't know, you should try to help. But that all comes down to the character of the people. It comes down to the character of the people.
Yes.
So yeah, so there were the hard lessons, and I would say try to keep as much control of your business as you can, and trust is something that we're building as a people, because some of us would rather the quick favor than the hard work.
So you
And
would say that, some of that, can you, would that be considered one of the failures that you experienced, or do you want to talk
I would
about some of
say
the
it was,
failures
I
you
would say
experienced on that
it
way?
was, it was a truth and reality check
Okay.
that caused me a devastation in my business at an early stage, because I went into it doe-eyed, thinking that my everyone who was on board with me wanted me to be successful, not knowing that they just really wanted me to take it to a certain level so that they could then take it. And so I wasn't aware that people were this way, but that's just because I guess I'm always in la la land, and I'm just so loving. I expect people to be the same way. So I didn't anticipate the betrayal. I didn't anticipate the betrayal. And it really, it hurt me. It really hurt me. Because I'm like, why are you doing this? This could be a great industry for the whole country. You can imagine what we could do if we could start exporting this. But it was a good idea if they could do it. You see, these are truths that we need to talk about as a
Yes, we
people.
do need to talk
These are
about these
truths we
hard
need to talk
stories
about
so
as a
we can
people.
understand, how can, when we're building our business, things to look out for, because you're right, there are sharks. So in other words, they were telling you that your business that you started was too good for you.
Yes, let me take it from you. And I said, you want to buy it? You can buy it. No, you can sign it over. I'm like, we're gonna have a problem. We're gonna have a problem. We're gonna have a problem. And I did have a problem. And everything started to dry up. Lost my contracts, got put out of the food store, started having little minor issues with electricity, with running water, started having problems. And these are our people who stand up and say they are for industry. And I don't say I went to everyone. I went to everyone. I put it in writing. I wrote everyone, told them about the situation, went personally to everyone, but nobody wants to get in it. Because see, we don't, if you have lived a soft life, you don't realize that there's still a class system in the Caribbean. So if you come from, I would say I'm from low middle class. I'm in from that generation that our parents put everything in us to educate us so that we could rise. So we're still not on the level of the persons who run the country and their children have talent. And so they feel as if, why do you need this? Give this to us. We know what to do with this.
Is it the
Give this
talent or just the
to us.
resources?
My resources. You see, talent is distributed equally. But the thing is, when you have less, you become more innovative and you create more things because you have less. When you have more, you just do it what's easy. And that's another reason why I tell people don't run and get a bunch of money as soon as you open your business, because you're going to do what's easy because you have so much
So
money
tell
at
us
your hands.
how to pace ourselves when we're starting a great venture, because you're telling us about a phenomenal shiver ice cream that you started in your kitchen, and then it expanded so well throughout the Bahamas, and you are dealing with contracts, government contracts, hotel contracts, and then because you didn't want to give them your business that was so fruitful, literally, they started to take from you. But tell us, what is it that you consider that part?
What do I consider that part besides corruption? Um, what you have to do as a small business is you have to find a genuine team. And the only way I can tell you to do it right now is to get into the Lord, because that's what helped me. By all of this, pushed me further into my Bible and pushed me further and deeper into my prayer life. And because of God, he opened my eyes so that I can see more than what is to the naked eye. So when a person speaks to me, I have sort of like a discernment. I can see the words
Discernment,
that they're
yes.
not saying. I could, or they would let something slip that would show me what their character was. Like I had a person call me and said, the thing was, I had a dream about it three nights before. In the dream, it was a conversation I was hearing on the radio, and the person was being very mean, talking about me. And I knew who the person was in the dream. And like 3 days later, the person called me and started saying stuff. And he's just like, they did some dirty stuff to you or whatever, but I'm the type of person I could work with a saint or a devil. So if you still want to do business with me, I could still do business with you. And I'm like, and that's where we're different. That's where we're different. Because if you can see someone do something to me and you know it is wrong, but you're okay with it because you said it was good business, then we can't work with each other. Because what I really want to do is change what business is. Business has been corrupted. Businesses were designed so that families could thrive. But then it got tainted to say that businesses can only be successful if they are inhumane or if they are robotic and don't take into consideration people's feelings. So it makes business people feel, if you're worrying about feelings and if you're worrying about all these other things, you're not a good business person. To be a good business person, you need to be cold-hearted. And that's the lie. And that's where I step in. I want to say that business can be humane. Business, you can have character and standards in there. Business, people can still have respect in it. That's where that little gray area. So that's where I stand. I want to do business with persons who give people dignity. Don't try to take more than your share.
But that's commendable of you. And I think, I don't know, and I can't speak for anyone, and I don't want to speak for anyone, because I do have issues with working with certain people, and I've been renewing my mind to say, let me be open, because, and it's not just because I have the money on my mind, but at the end of the day, I was trying to take my feelings out of it, because too many times I figured if your feelings is so wrapped up, money don't have feelings. And to be in business, you have to be in business to make money. I'm not saying to sell your soul, but you do have to have this perspective. You're a gem, because you have made up your mind what it is that you want to do. And I think that's one of the main things. We need to renew our minds. But what I've seen over time is you have to expand and be open to see how you can work with certain people. Not that you have to share the same values, but because we all coexist in the same world, we have to learn to work with them.
But not have them in your inner circle. Because
Exactly. You don't have to have them. No, not in your inner circle, but we have to work together because we all coexist, but you have to know where to place that.
Yes, you have to know, because for me, what I think is when I look at character is very important to me.
Yes.
And so if you're able to do something that is a little gray, I have to put that in my records, because something may come up with us and then you may think it's okay to do something gray with me too. And that's why I choose my people cautiously now, because I look and see what you have done to someone else. And then I realize that I am no better than that person. And if you can do that to them, then for me, true north is for me. I say that God is my CEO and true north is for me. And so whenever you use your talent, God will bless you and money will come. And I really think that when you do things in a deceptive way, in a harmful way, karma is going to come. And I don't want to really be around anyone when karma comes for them because it's like sitting at a table. It's like when you have changed your life, like you belong to God now, and you sit at a table where the conversation is raw and wrong. You are pretty much saying that you're in agreement with it. So shaking hands with people, having meals with people, sitting down to tables with people who do not have your same values, you're kind of saying you have an agreement. But I'm on the deep end with the spirituality right now. So, it may not apply to everyone. For me, my, what I would say, retribution or karma comes to me very quickly. And so God disciplines me right away. And so that's why I have to be cautious with who I associate with and who I deal with, because
Absolutely. We all have a
I
different story. We all
right.
have a different
Yeah, God
story.
is working with me in a very serious way. I say, how they have the song "One Day at a Time," sweet Jesus. That's not my story. God works with me 12 hours at a time. 12 hours at a time. So and I had to learn that. And honestly, what they say that what was done to harm you actually helps you. And that's how I think I am. I was put in the fire to test me, and I could have gone other ways. I could have folded and I could have submitted under other people and let them have my company and just be a worker. But that was not what God designed me to be. So you have to understand who you are and what you stand
Yes.
for and what is most important. Making money, I could say making money is not very important to me. I need money. My children need money, but it is not the most important thing to me, because what I realize is God will give it to me without the money.
I
He may
agree
not
with you.
give me the
You
money.
have to know who you are. Yes,
He may
absolutely.
not give me the money that I need to pay for something, but he will let the person give it to me for free. That's how God deals with me.
Yes.
Listen here, I have some stories when things that should have been $5,000, I had $30 in my wallet and they said, "That's enough. Come back with the rest." Signed, sealed, and stamped. That's how God deals with me. And that's why I can't play around with my life or my
Well, that's
kids.
a relationship. You're right. And we all have different stories to tell. We all have different relationships with God. And you're right. You have to know what works for you. You have to be your own voice of reason because you know who you're answering to. And speaking about the power of a voice, let's talk about your voice, Melissa, the author, because you're also an author in addition to being an entrepreneur. I mean, beyond entrepreneurship, you, Melissa, you have authored both children and spiritual books. And it reflects on passion, purpose, identity, growth, and I could go on and on and on. What inspired you to write your first book?
Boy, this is going to turn into a God conversation right now. I went to
That's
I
okay.
went
That's
to
okay.
I went to a women's dinner on a Sunday, and a lady saw me and she told me, she said, "You have something in you that you need to get out." She said, "What you supposed to do?" I said, "Well, I want to write a book, but I don't really, my story is so simple. I don't really want to write a book on my life because my story is so simple." She said, "Go and sit down to a blank piece of paper and write the book." And I was just like, "Ooh, okay." And so that Monday, I went and I sat in front of the computer and I said, "God, okay, she's saying that I have something in me to give out, but I don't really know what my story really is. Is it my story from my wild college days, turn into a mom and something else? Is it my business story? What makes enough sense?" And I got 10 titles for the chapter given to me. It just downloaded right in my head. These are the 10 chapters. And I'm just like, whoa, okay then.
Yeah.
Okay. I got a download. And I sat in front of that computer and I wrote 10 pages nonstop. And I was like, wow, I guess I have my first chapter. And I was like, okay, God, how long is a book anyway? I said, how long
As
is this
long
book
as you want
anyway?
it to be.
And he gave me what I found when I got to a certain chapter and I saw the topic in my remembrance. It showed me an essay that I had written already and had on the computer, because I always love to write. Or I had a post that I had written about a certain topic, and I was able to draw all of the things just from being downloaded and from things I had previously written. And I will
So
tell
you're
you,
the illustrator as well to your books, in addition
I
to the
did it.
author.
I did it AI because I started with an artist, but it was too. I started with an artist and I got 2 pages done, and it was so expensive. It was like $500 a page, and I couldn't keep it up. And so I let that book, my first children's book, I wrote that. My son is going to be 14. I wrote that when he was in grade 1, but I never published it or finished it or illustrated it because I didn't have the money. And so just now this year, because of AI, I was helping someone else do a project. And I'm like, hold on. We were doing storyboards. I'm like, hold on. I could use this to make my illustrations for my book. And so I tried it, and then I was able to do it. And so
Look at that.
all the books that I had written, just sitting there waiting to have enough money to hire an illustrator to do it, I was able to do it on my laptop.
And I love the cover. I will say, I too am an author, but I never pushed my book because I did a collaborative with others. And I, to this day, resent the cover of my book. Well, the book that we did, because it's 5 phenomenal, strong Black women. And then they came up, because I had no say with the cover that was chosen. I was totally against it, but the majority voted. And this cover looks so great. In a word, where your stories, how hard is it for you to create literature for us, by us, that looks like us? Because I mean, just look at those books, and those look so great.
These are like stories. The first one with the birthday that almost wasn't. That was my one of my close girlfriends from high school. She had told me a funny story when we were waiting to do school pickup, and her daughter was turning 6, and she got in trouble at school. And so her daughter came to her. She said, "So that means I have to stay 5 for a whole next year?" And we were like, "No, no." And so that's what that story
That's
comes
cute.
from. And then Chosen is a heartfelt story because my nephew's wife passed away a few years ago. She was ill in the hospital, and she left. She had 3 boys, and one was he was about 2 or 3. He was about 2 or 3 when she passed away. And so my nephew came to me and he said, "Melissa, I want to do a book." And so he showed me what he had, and I said, "You can't use that. That doesn't give her a good justice." I said, "Give me a minute and let me write something for her." And so I wrote the story for her, and we kept the story for about a year. I shared him the story, but he wasn't ready. And so after a year passed, I did the illustration and I sent it to him, and I said, "What do you think? Do you think you're ready?" And then he was just like, "Yes, I'm Melissa." And so I published it. And so Chosen, all of the funds from Chosen goes to him, and the birthday that almost wasn't, that goes to my girlfriend for her daughter.
I love that. This birthday that almost wasn't.
And these, If You Knew God, that's just something. It's like a character building book that I wrote about things that you wouldn't do if you knew God, from a child's perspective. And then The Mighty Little Town is talking about the power of the town and how the town is such a small thing, but it can do so much damage or so much good. And so use your town to build others up, not to tear them down. And these are lessons that our children need to know.
Yes.
These are things that our children need to know. And so,
With your kids' book, what is the most impactful feedback that you've received for your kids' books?
Crying. My son's teacher read it to the class, and he said 4 of the girls just burst out crying. And I was just like, wow, I'm sorry. But they understood, because the story was like a lullaby, and he was growing up and going to school, but he knew that his angel mom was always watching over him. And so for kids to get the message, that was a powerful thing for me. I didn't want them to cry, but they understood the message. And my book, The Sis is getting a lot of reads. That is a short book, and that is about really my journey with marriage and what I had to come to realize, because in that I explained that marriage was so important to me that I basically held him as an idol. And I did whatever I had to do to try to hold on to this marriage, not understanding that a husband should love a wife like God loves you.
Yes.
And so what I learned in that marriage was that sometimes if people know that you are dedicated to them wholeheartedly and that you want this marriage to work, if they are not a sound person, they will dangle that and manipulate you in order to have their way. And so it was something that I had to I was in a very dark place after my divorce. I actually was in my closet literally for days, and my brother had to take me out of my closet and make me shower and get me back because I don't know when I went in the closet. I just know I was in the closet and he took me out. And because it was a crush for me. I grew up Catholic. And so being married was like, if you let this marriage fail, you are a
You're a
failure.
failure,
You
and
are
you're
a
not in
failure.
good
You're not.
relationships with God.
And
Mm.
I was getting it from everywhere. I had stopped going to church because when I went to church, people were like, oh, you let that good man go. You need to go back and get that good man. And I'm just like, but you don't even know he's not good to me. Like they don't know. And so
They don't know.
sometimes the guilt will get you
But
to,
that was based on the peanut gallery, not based on, substance. And unfortunately, they were not gracious. They were not merciful. They did not want to know your story, which is her story. They just made up this narrative based on their tradition of what a union should be instead of what a union may be.
right? And what I had to do, like even when I went to court, I'm being open because people need to hear this.
Yes.
He told the judge, I still love her. I don't want to get a divorce. And so the judge was like, well, maybe I'm going to hold off on this. What do you say, Ms. Darville? I said, he can love me and I could love him, but I love myself more. And I refuse to let my children see me be treated this way. So please proceed.
And let the
Because
church say amen.
because love, people can use that word love, but they don't understand that love is an action word. Love doesn't just mean that
It's a verb and a noun.
I'm obsessed because some people feel that I love her, but really you're obsessed with me or you want to own me, which is different than
Control.
love. And so I went from like a size 14 down to a size 4. Not by choice, just from going through the divorce. When I went to court, I had to borrow a dress from my niece. I lost so much weight, and it's not a good thing. My hair was dropping out, my health was, and so this is a thing that we need to understand. Sometimes I just wrote a post about it the other day. Sometimes you're holding like a piece of hot coal in your hand because you think you need to hold it, but it's hurting you.
Yes.
And that's how I had to really realize it, because I was going to counseling and everything. And then when I had to start going to the doctor, and the doctor was like, what is going on in your life? You need to change something. Your hair is dropping out. You're not healthy. All these things are going on with you. Something is wrong. And so then I had to really wake up and be like, okay, this is, you're going to let this situation actually cause death? You can't. And so it was very difficult. And so I tell people sometimes, people, they look at me and say, oh, she's a divorcee. I'm not a divorcee because I don't love the marriage as a sacrament, because I don't respect marriage. I did it to save myself.
Well, just like how you mentioned when your business is that you have to have a certain amount of people around you, those are not the type of people you need in your circle, because they want to keep their collection and keep you down for something that they don't understand. And marriage is, it's work, but it's not supposed to take your health from you. So you did the right thing. Kudos to you. Kudos to you. Kudos to
I
you.
still believe in love. I'm still a romantic. I still love love, and I'm still romantic. But it's just
Hey,
that now you have to
I'm with you. I still love too. But you're going, the next, just like how God downloads everything else into your spirit, He's going to download that mate for you. He's working on you for Him, and He's working on him for you. And you're in a different space in your life, so you know definitely what it is that you're willing to accept and what you're not. And that is phenomenal.
Mhm.
So, and you being the author, let's talk about the other 2 books.
Okay, truth. One of my girlfriends, she said, truth is really my manifesto. So truth is about, let me see how I can explain this. It's about good and evil. It's about the plots that are in place in society that are meant to destroy us. So the basis of this is that you cannot play with evil, because evil does not like you. It is here to kill you, and it will kill you slowly or it will kill you quickly. And so we have to look at the things and systems that are in place in our communities that are really designed to destroy first the male, because the male is supposed to keep the family units together. And then it attacks the whole, after the male is out of the way, then it could attack the female, and then it comes for the kids. So we have to look at the things that people say, some of my younger kids, they say, or their friends, they say, your mommy's too serious. She takes everything too seriously. No, it is serious, because what may start as a simple habit could wreck your mind. So we have to be aware of the things that are in place that are really there to destroy us. And if something, anything, if a habit, if a game, if a business, if anything, of music, if anything is there that does not uplift you or build you up, then what is it doing?
Right.
So everything should be there. Everything that we have should be here to uplift us, encourage us, make us feel of what our potential could be, and to build something positive. So and that goes from everything. That goes from music, that goes to music, that goes to how we treat the environment. So if you have a business that is damaging the rivers, that is not of God. That is not of God. You're destroying the planet Earth. So it's like a lot of things in that. So the truth, it has 10 chapters, and each one talks about the different ways that I call it the enemy in the book. The enemy is there to destroy us and to stop us from our potential. Because we're here for a reason.
We sure are here for a reason. And with us being here for that reason, what role do you believe storytelling plays in Black empowerment?
Black empowerment. I see, for me, Black empowerment, you're talking about slavery and the damage that was done to us psychologically. And that's the reason why we have to be empowered. And I believe, it's just my opinion.
Well, it's just us, you and I, so it's your opinion.
That's my opinion. My opinion is that slavery never left. It just redressed itself. It just put on a different outfit that's more pleasing and more palatable to the people. And so we are still attacked by these things. We're still attacked by these things. And so we have to show people, first of all, who they are, and that they are valuable, and that they are mighty, and that they have access to so much knowledge and power and ability, so that they don't fall prey for the things that are being told to the Black community. And I don't like the there's plenty of stuff like over sexualizing of the Black woman. A Black woman is not just a sex object. She's not just there because she got that body and she got the bang. She's not there. She is so much more than that. And that narrative, even our men have adopted that. Instead of trying, some of them, they just want a toy. That's all they want, is a toy. They don't really want your mind. They don't really want a person who's, they don't want that. And then in turn, women start to only give that, because they're so needy and want that mate so much. They want that companionship so much that they will become the lesser thing that society is telling them that they have to be. So it's a lot of things.
It definitely is a lot of things. And because you and your frame of thought is global and not just in the Bahamas, now let's talk about more of the substance of the works that you're doing, connecting regions from the Bahamas, from the Caribbean to Africa, the culture, the economies, through trade and creative collaborations, your Afro-Caribbean vision and your movement. I really want to get into that.
I did a lot of courses after I closed Shiva. I was doing a lot of courses in trade. And so my first goal was really to try to capitalize on the free trade agreements that the Bahamas has with Europe. But then I ran into a roadblock with all of the certifications And then I started trying to learn how to get past those certifications, and it just got so much. And I reached out, to people in my community, and nobody really understood what to do. So I said, okay, well, let me just go back to the US. Let me try to get past the FDA. And so I got some headway with that. And then I actually realized something that had held me back just because of my ignorance. I did not know about it. I don't know if the law is still applicable now, but when I researched, it was Obama had passed a law that a small business that was making under $1 million was able to bring goods into the country without the FDA certification for their building. And I'm like, say what now? Because my whole thing why I didn't export was because I couldn't get past these FDA hurdles. And I'm saying, so now I'm finding out that there was actually a clause in place for micro and small businesses to be able to export to the US without having to go through all that red tape. But by then I had already closed up shop. So I'm like, I still pursued it. I wrote everyone and I found it out, and I have all the information right there. So, and I try to tell people if I see that they're trying to export to the US, listen, this is the law name, this is the number, such and such and such.
Who is your researcher?
Me.
Who is
I love to research. I love to research.
I mean, I didn't even know that. I didn't even know that there was a clause that,
There's a clause.
And you wonder why people gravitate to you for knowledge? I mean, come on.
So that was that. So then, blah blah blah. I met a friend. I went to see one of my friends has a shipping company. So I went to see him to ask him, okay, let me still find out how we're doing so far on getting shipments from the Bahamas to the Caribbean, because that was still in my mind. Okay, I still want to try it. And he said, we're making some headway with it. I'm like, okay. So I went there to see him. He wasn't in office. I spoke to someone else who was in his office, and he told me that he had an idea very similar for Africa trade, and he was moving to Africa the next month. So I'm like, okay, hold on. So we just needed to get beyond the border, because my thing really was, I need to get beyond the border. Was it US? Was it EU? And now he's saying Africa. And so there were 3 of us who joined together, and we were trying to get our cooperative off the ground, Afro-Caribbean Cooperative Society. And so we got like over 100 people in the group, and we were doing this stuff, and we got a trade show going, and we had a trade show during Easter week, and it was phenomenal. And we had
that your first venture?
That was us. So it was very difficult. I'm not going to say it wasn't. It was very difficult. It was not perfect, but we got it done. And my assignment was to just get the Caribbean businesses to touch the soil of Ghana. That was my assignment. And so we were able to do that. And we were able to put on a trade show. We were able to have ministers come and speak. We had people from we got a letter even from the president's office, from the diaspora office of the president of Ghana. We got a letter from him endorsing our program. It went far, and we did a lot. And at the end of it, it was like because it was so hard, and everyone was telling us, you can't do it. I've been trying to do this for 10 years. You can't do it. Just get a tent and pitch up a tent and just do something simple. But it was like, no. Let's just try.
No. Do it. Yes, exactly.
Let's just try. And we got it done. And so after that, we split because we each had different goals. So one of the persons, he stayed in Ghana to do his shipping business, and the other person, she went to work with her ships. And so then I started with my nonprofit. So we got that done.
So what is the name of your nonprofit?
Global Afro-Caribbean Network.
And who is it for?
It is for everyone who has a business or who wishes to get in business and wants to connect with the other diaspora around the world. So in our group, we have people from Canada, the Caribbean, the US, Africa, and the Bahamas. And so what we're building, we just got a website up. And so what we're doing is we're trying to create a place where people can connect personally with someone else to start to do trade on a small level. Because we always think of trade, okay, I need to get a container load. I need to open up a big factory. No, you don't. Test it first. Before you scale, test it. And so what we have, when we went to Ghana, we were able to meet all of the craftsmen. And let me tell you what's different about Ghana
Tell me.
and
Well,
Caribbean.
I went to Ghana one time. It was a mission trip, but I have to go back so I can really experience Ghana.
They
So well,
start
next
from
time you go and
small.
keep me in mind. I want
They
to go.
they they start from small. So we passed a gentleman. He had a cement block company. He was making one block at a time. He had one form. He was pressing one block, and he was making one block at a time. But he had a whole yard full of blocks. See, now wouldn't do that. We wouldn't do that because we would say, "Oh, I need all this equipment and stuff." But he's just starting. So we have to be willing to start with what we have, and then prove that. See, now he could say after he already have all his customers, okay, now I can invest and get bigger. And that's what we need to do. So that's the model that I'm trying to let people start with. Yes, you want to have, yes, you want your stuff in Kmart. Yes, you want to have your own designer store. But how about we just start with something small? How
Start
about
where
we
you at.
right? How about you design your product? You have it made. You can talk personally with a person. They have a lot of good tailors and seamstresses there, shoemakers, jewelry, all that type of stuff. Find someone, let them custom make your things for you, and then you try to sell it however you can on social media, or you have your pop-up parties to your house and sell your stuff. Then when you have proven your point, then you could say, okay, I need a grant. Because the thing is, when you go and get that grant too soon, or you go and get that loan too soon, you haven't worked out the kinks. And so then you end up losing the money and wasting the money. So sometimes it's
And then
best
things come up afterwards. Understood. Yes.
start small and work out all the kinks. And so that's like one of the theories that I use. Fail quick, fail fast. Once I get an idea, I hash it out to the fullest. I research everything and I go and I test it. And sometimes it's a flop. And I'm like, okay, good. So I didn't waste too much money or time on it because I did it quick. And then other times it's a hit. And so that's what we,
But you
that's
have to be willing to put the work in because not only are you the mover and the shaker, you're actually taking the time to do the research. You're doing the job of five people. That's what I'm hearing. You're doing the
yeah.
job of five people. The
Yeah.
researcher, the dreamer, the creator, the innovator, and the entrepreneur, the
And
sole
marketing.
proprietor, everything.
Yeah. So, but this is what I love, and it makes me happy. My happiest, people say, someone asked me, what makes you happy? I say a blank piece of paper. Give me a blank piece of paper. Oh,
And you will
I
fill
love
it
a
in.
blank
I
piece of
love that.
paper.
And that's how we should live our lives. The blank piece of paper that we've given, let us just fill in the blanks as we live our lives. Love it. I love it. Love it. So what's new? What's coming up next for the Afro Caribbean trade event?
And
Is there something in the network?
we don't have an event planned as yet, but what we started working on, we're going to open. We took the summer off, but the small core team is still doing work in the background. So we have launched. We have our website, and on that website, you can list your products. You can do e-commerce on there. You can sell your products on the website. You can search for other people in industries and try to make connections on that website. Also, you can book for us to help you with grant writing, business plan writing, so business services. So that's the website. We also have another page that should be up by next week for advertising and marketing. So on that page, you can post all of your flyers. If you have small events that you want to stream on there, you can use that page for that, for visibility. Then we have something in the making. We are trying to work with the orange community, the orange industry, right? Orange community. For film. So we
Ooh,
have
well, tell us about this. Is it a film festival, a
this
streaming
is a film
platform, a
festival. So yes,
creative masterclass? What is it? What is it? What
yes,
is it?
we have. So it's going to be the Bahamas Africa International Film Festival, which is a three-year plan. So the first thing that we're doing is we're going to start showing African and Caribbean films in the theater to build the momentum and to get people watching the films and to give the creatives an outlet for them to be able to make money. Because what we found after talking to the film people here, that after you make your film and you have that first viewing, it's just sitting there. We don't have like a thing where it's listed and people could go and buy it and You could sell the rights and stuff like that. So we're going to have the film festival, which is going to have small events. We're trying to do it every 6 weeks or so to show a film, Caribbean or African. And then we're going to have a streaming site for pure African and Caribbean movies.
I
So
love it.
that'll be subscription only. We made two sites. We made DS Prime and DS Flix TV. So the TV one we're going to do that later. So that one we need sponsorship for that to have free shows. So we'd have to do the sponsor level for that. So have commercials and stuff. So we have those things in mind. And then we have a training program because we have a producer from Nollywood who's working with our group. And so he has designed a 13-week program where he and like a group of 5 will come to the Bahamas and they will do training, classroom and hands-on field work, helping people who are interested in film to produce a product, an end product. And so
Do you guys need actresses?
we probably will. So we got that. And then on the 3-year end of this, we hope from the interaction that we get with doing the film showings, with doing the master classes in film and production, we would then be able to produce our own film. So that's the end. The end goal is to produce our own film, but we went backwards into small steps in order to build a community. So that's what we're doing there. And that's huge.
That's ginormous. That I'm excited. I've been here. I am excited. I want to come to the Bahamas to help with that. I can be the actress. I could just be one that you could brainstorm with. I could let me know. And we can share what is the links here on Let's Talk About You. As soon as you get them up and going, let's share it. Let's get the word out. That is wonderful to have a Caribbean film festival like right there in our back. Please share the information so we can share it here. We're doing this together. So it could be a Caribbean and African. Not just
and I learned
kudos
something
to
on
you.
I thought that Nollywood was African film, but then I had to learn Nollywood is just Nigeria's film. So we're not just doing, we're using the word Nollywood because everyone knows the word Nollywood, but we're really opening it to all African film and not just entertainment movies, but documentaries, educational shows. So anything, because see, one of the things for us is we have to learn our culture.
Yes.
We have to understand because
education is key. We definitely have to understand where we came from. Yes, absolutely.
So many people, in the Caribbean now think I'm not African. My family was from Ireland. Yeah, somewhere, somewhere. But your people, we don't want to claim it because we've been brainwashed that being African, being nappy is bad.
It's a bad thing, yeah. Because one of the things that we did when we went to Ghana, we went to the castle, and downstairs it has that area where it tells you, if you're like live in the Virgin Islands, the slaves probably came from Jamaica and went through Ghana. I mean, came from Ghana or Nigeria or Ethiopia. It'll tell you who were definitely dominated or took that trip to that Caribbean island or wherever. You do get that piece of information to find out exactly where in Africa you're from.
My family, we did our DNA, and my mom came out 98% Nigerian, and my dad was from Benin, Ivory Coast, and then some European.
So yeah. I haven't done mine yet. I think I want to do that because I'm very curious to find out. But I think that is so great. You have a legacy going on. You have faith going on. You're leading in purpose. You're sharing your knowledge. What keeps you going emotionally, spiritually, mentally? What keeps you going?
I want God to be pleased with me. That's my thing. I want, when I close my eyes, for God to say, you used everything that I put in you, and I leave it empty.
Well done, my good and faithful servant. He definitely will, because, girl, you are doing a lot. You are doing so much. I'm so excited for you. I'm excited to know you.
It's only because of him. And that's why people be like, how could you? But they don't understand, like he has been doing a work in me. And all you have to say, and what I want to tell people is, if you open up and you start to get in your prayer, there is so much intelligence in the spiritual realm that he
Yes.
will put in you. So like how you said, I'm doing all this stuff. It's like, I thought I was a teacher to find out I'm a writer, to find out I like to sew, to find out I want to do a luggage line, to find out I could cook, because you're not just blessed with one thing. The intellect is boundless, limitless.
Yes.
And
Yes.
once you make yourself available, the Holy Spirit is looking for people to use. He's looking for people to use, and just make yourself available to that. And what you think you're going to miss by turning, let me tell you, people don't want to turn from sin because the sin is too sweet. And they think, if I live a Christian life, I'm not going to have fun anymore. Nobody's going to like me and I'm going to be boring. Furthest from the truth. Furthest from the truth. I do the most laughing. I have the most fun. And because the things that you think were making you happy, they weren't really making you happy. They're not.
Well, I will say this. I'm not going to get into the sin and not sin because I'm a spiritual person too, but I think it has to do with the lessons that they have been taught and who taught them, and they realize that just like, they feel like they've been condemned and instead of convicted, and then they see that that person that was supposed to be their leader is no better than they are. So they feel like, okay, if I'm looking up to you, then what it is that I'm doing. So I think we as a people, not just we need to get out of looking at man for our vision and truly say, as you
Yeah.
say, look to God, study for ourselves to show ourselves approved. Because too many times we have the man syndrome that, oh, this man, this woman, they're supposed to be of God and they're doing this. We're
You don't
all
want
human.
that.
And I'm not saying that as an excuse. What I'm saying is we need to have that personal relationship. That's the
Right.
key, the
And
personal relationship.
it'll be easy. And you think it's like, because like I can tell you, because I used to drink a lot of wine. I used to drink. And I was like, and when I started getting in my Bible, the smell just was wrong. I tried to taste it at my dad's funeral. My nephew got me a glass of wine and I could not put it in my mouth. I could not drink it, because that's what the Holy Spirit does for you. He will turn you, and then you don't like it anymore. And so sometimes some things you have to work against, some addictions you have to work against. And then some of them, God will give you the grace to it just would turn your stomach and you could
It will.
change. You just make up your mind what you want. If you want a better life, if you want to flourish, because, our life is not supposed to be hardship and lack and poverty. That's not what our life is
Well,
supposed to
because
be.
he said to give us a life of abundance and more abundantly. But with everything that you're doing and all the contributions that you've made, what do you want people to know about Melissa Darville about 10 years from now? What do you want your staple to be?
That I was an ordinary person and I took a chance and God used me to do his good work, just like he could use you. I'm just an ordinary person, just ordinary person. But because of my surrender to God, he gave me extra energy, extra ideas, extra confidence. I used to be scared to speak, I used to be scared to speak. So he will give you what you need. So, and you can have it too. You can have it too. All of us, there's room for everyone to be. You could imagine if everybody was just doing on that A game,
Well, I love the
you'd be
fact that you said
nothing.
that because of everything that you've been given, your ideas are limitless and God is limitless. We're the ones that put limit on ourselves, but God doesn't put any limit on us. We're the ones that put limit on ourselves. And the one thing that I will say that I don't agree with you with, I will not say in 10 years that you are ordinary. I would say Melissa is an extraordinary person that was open to learn more, open to give. She researched for knowledge for self and for others. That's what I would say. There's nothing ordinary about you, but that's just my take on it.
Okay, okay. Thank you, though. Thank you. But yes, this was a beautiful conversation.
Yes,
Anyone,
I mean, I
anyone,
can't believe that we're over an hour. We have so much we covered so much and still have so much to go. But so that means you have to come back. That just means Melissa Darville, you gotta come back. Now you're part of the Let's Talk About You family. You just have to come back. I mean, your story was powerful. It's inspiring. It gave pause, food for thought, and it was freeing because you show that there are no limits other than the limits you put on yourself. Once you're open to receive and you have that relationship with your source being God. Once you have that openness to learn, there's nothing that you can't do. They have so many things, and it's okay when one season ends, something else begins. And
Yes.
grace with
Yes.
self is very important. And even though it may be hard to let that one thing go, if your hand is closed, how are you going to receive the next? So
Mhm.
thank you for all those lessons, because that's just a snippet of the things that you gave me in this time. So
Oh,
I'm going to
thank
keep my
you.
hands open because I want to receive all that is mine. I want to be extraordinary like you in the way that God wants me to be, because it's not in a covetous way. I just feel that everybody has their thing, and if God did it for you, He would do it for me. Your way may be different from mine, but I know there's room for all of us to succeed.
Mhm.
And you definitely need an actress from St. Thomas Virgin Islands, and I'm the one
Yes,
that you're going
ma'am.
to need.
Yes, ma'am. No,
And I am just so excited for everything that you're doing, everything that's downloaded into you, especially this Afro-Caribbean thing. I'm so excited about that. And I thank you for educating me about the laws and rules of the United States, because I didn't even know about that rule. So thank you for being you. And you see, that's not an ordinary person. They're not just going to be researching because it's Tuesday. No, but that's you. That's
thank
you. And I just want to say continued blessings, more abundance upon abundance upon abundance, more creativity to you, because the more you create, I'm going to get some blessings from it. Crystal, thank you for making this connection. A listening audience, I hope that you got everything that you needed and more. And Melissa will be back. I'm speaking for her, but am I wrong? Are you coming back?
Oh, you're coming back. I'm coming back.
Okay, so she's coming back. So thank you so much for spending your Sunday with us. And I would just want to take this time to shout out my CHS class of 1990. Today, June 22nd, is actually the day we walked across Reichel stage. It has been 35 years. I know I don't look a day over 12, but today is our 35th anniversary, and I say congratulations to the class of 1990. I admire you guys. I salute you guys. Continue excelling always. And our listening audience, I want you to continue. Stay blessed on purpose.
Yes. Bye.
Your dream come to life. That is the mission behind Kiki Creations. We're more than a decorating service. We put our all into taking in every detail of your vision and transforming that into breathtaking events. Whether you're celebrating a wedding, retirement, throwing a massive gala, or having an intimate dinner, let Kiki Creations create the moment of your dreams. Celebrate love, laughter, and the moments that really matter with Kiki Creations.